I am a soul blazer. I change lives, I touch people's souls, and I open them up. I teach people how to be present and to be in their authentic soul. Do you guys know what imposters are? These untrained imposters, they reside on the stage of our brain, and they're trying to control us. But usually what happens is they make things worse. But the good news is that we can control them. We could take over and we could teach them to work for us instead of against us. Hi, and welcome to the Soul Blazing Mastermind. I'm so excited today because I have a dear friend, a colleague, a partner with us today. I'm so impressed with who he is and his commitment to being there for others. I'm going to share a little bit about him. He is a 9-time best-selling Amazon author and best-selling international author. He is the president of Westwood International, a global leadership development firm, and founder of HopeMakers. And I love HopeMakers. I'm a part of HopeMakers. And it's an invite-only group of thought leaders finding ways to make a world that works for all of us. How cool is that? His TEDx was recently recognized by Los Angeles Business Magazine, and he was recently nominated to the inaugural Power 100 list by Fortuna. He grew up in Wisconsin, graduated from Lawrence University, and attended graduate school at Boston College. So welcome, Greg.
Great to be here with you, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Hi, you're welcome. I'm so happy you were able to make it in your busy schedule, traveling everywhere and leading these conferences all over. So it's exciting. So please share. I want to know, I want everyone else, I guess, to know about you and how you're so committed to building community groups and teams. And how do you do it? And how did you get so focused to do all this group work? Because I know how hard it is to get people in the room and excited about something.
Well, I mean, I think it started all back with my family. So my childhood home was 2 blocks from the high school and 2 blocks from the grade school. And I was the youngest of 4 boys. Matter of fact, 3 of us were within 4 years. And so our home was the nexus of the neighborhood. Like people were coming and going all the time. So I just grew up with groups. I grew up with activity and all of that going on. But to add a little spice to it, my father was also a confectionery broker, which is just a fancy way of saying a candy salesman. And so we had candy all the time in our house. So people were coming and going, looking for the candy, saying hi, my mom, my dad, meals. It was just a great place. And I think from that experience, I just got used to being a part of groups and teams and seeing how big flows and things worked. And then in addition to that, in sports, I was always on team sports, basketball, football, baseball. And so that's where I got started and where, I think all of that, the group work got into my DNA.
Wonderful. I know just going to a couple of your conferences and seeing how you work, everyone not only enjoys the community, but they enjoy your leadership. And I know it always starts at the top. If you're not a good guy or you don't know how to lead, it's very hard to keep everyone motivated and excited. And some of these people, very high-end people, top people in business and the arts are there. A lot of them have said because of you and your leadership skills. So I would love to know, what do you do when you lead? What are you thinking when you're putting a group together, inviting people in? What are the steps somebody watching this who wants to start creating groups in their community, especially where the world is like it is, to make change? What advice would you give them? Like 3 tips?
Yeah. So 3 tips are this. One, I think the one thing that helps me a lot is just self-awareness. And self-awareness in this regard, I know that inside I have dual thoughts, things on both sides of the seesaw. One makes sense, one doesn't make sense. One is right, one is wrong. One is selfish, one is giving. Like, it's constant. And so if that's going on in my head, and I've trained myself through meditation, etc.
NLP.
NLP, all different kinds of things, right? Just so many different things, silent retreats and workshops. And that it gives me a lot of, I don't know, I would say just space and understanding for what other people are going through. And the thing about bringing groups together in teams, there's a fallacy involved where people think, well, I want to come to, say, Greg's workshop or HopeMakers, because that just sounds like the right people. It's going to be easy. It's going to be great. Everyone's going to love each other. And what people often miss is it's actually more work. It actually takes more work to be in a group and let a group be a community, because that means each individual in that group has to learn to be bigger,
Yes.
to accept and to understand all the different perspectives. And the more individuals can do that and the collective can do that, the more accepting it is, the more possibility there is, and the more of, let's just say, the expanse is open for the group for what can happen. When people come in with agendas, when people come in with very strong opinions, when people come in with certainty, it's the antithesis of what you want to have for a group that needs to be creative. So, tips for people. One, I vet everyone who comes into HopeMakers. And I say, look, our first value is listening. You got to be a listener. Two, you have to appreciate what's working. So look at the things that are working either in someone else's life or in the group or in your own life and build from there. Let that be your default. And third, find ways to serve. You know, if you want to come and have friendship and connection, act in a way that people want to connect with you. Listen in a way that people want to be with you. Ask questions in a way that helps someone understand their experience so they can learn more deeply from it. So the next time they get into it, they're even better, which is a really neat way to serve people. And so if we can practice those values, or if I can vet people who live by those values, we can have a lot of differences on the content screen, i.e. red people and blue people, old people and young people, conservative and liberal, et cetera, if those values are followed. And what begins to happen is people say, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. I didn't think we were going to connect on anything, but all of a sudden I can see where you're coming from. I'm not changing my opinion, but I see where you're coming from and I have better understanding. As soon as that begins to happen and people nurture that, now you have a team or a group or a company or an organization that can begin to be extremely creative because they're being candid, they're being open, and the ability or the options are much larger than if everyone had agendas, fights to pick, lines to draw, etc.
Absolutely. I know when I raised $1 million for a film, or when I traveled the world, or when I went to Iraq by myself, I was innocent. I wasn't aware so much of the news or what was going on. So I like to say ignorance is bliss, because you're just stepping into something with a fresh, plate. Nothing is there. Then you are just there to absorb and learn and take in, and you love everyone, and no one's an enemy, and you don't have to have any fear about anything. You can't lose. You can't, there's no win lose. It's just about the experience. And yeah, I think when you allow people to do that, when people come into your group or your vetting, which I've seen you do, everyone, like at our last one in Del Mar, there were so many difference of opinions, and we're all breaking bread and laughing at our differences and saying, oh, really, you think that? And we just were sharing it. We didn't care what people thought. We cared about the connection and listening and being open. And that, I think, has brought your group so close together, because there's everyone in there, different cultures, different belief systems, different political agendas. And we're all saying, what are you thinking? This is crazy on the news. And what are you thinking? And we get to explain and share with each other.
Yeah. It's interesting. Someone just mentioned the comment, give me an example. So I was in Spain. I was in Barcelona, and I went on a historical tour. And when we had lunch, I thought, you know what, let me practice what I preach. Let me find someone who's really different from me and just sit with them at lunch and learn from them. And so there were two young people. They looked like they were in their 20s, all dressed in black. tattoos, piercings, the whole bit, like looking completely different from me. So I sat down and I said, hey, I'm Greg. You mind if I sit here? And we had a conversation. I asked them about, their tattoos. Do they have any significance? How'd you come to there? What'd you do? What do you think of this tour? What's going on? Lo and behold, they said, what we really care about is history, how it repeats itself, how we can make a better difference in the world, how we can save the economy, how we can help people, and how we can do that in a way that doesn't hurt the environment. And I was like, man, that's exactly me. Like, I would have never have guessed that. Like, we're more alike than we are different, even though on the surface, it looked very different.
Yeah,
and
it's so fun hearing about it, listening and having that aha moment of going, oh, I would have missed this opportunity if I just said, oh, that's the other.
Totally. Would have totally missed it. And part of my own awareness is continuing to learn how to let go of the judgments, how to let go of the labels that pop up, how to let go of whatever emotions show up in me, to kind of just not deny them, but just kind of put it in a little package, put it aside, create some empty space in the head so I can ask a question and just be curious. And, the more I can practice that little habit in conversations or with teams or with groups, or even as I'm facilitating, usually the better things go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Who were your key mentors in your life and how did they help you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my big break was, so I probably have the books up here. Yeah, I have all of his books up here. Scott Peck, back in the 80s and 90s, he wrote The Road Less Traveled, Different Drum, etc. So I was in my early 20s the time I was reading his books, totally enthralled, like millions of people. And then I got the book, The Different Drum, and the address for the foundation he started was in the back. So I called them up and I tried to sign up for several workshops. Each one was canceled. And I was on a student budget. And so I started calling up the office saying, hey, I can't afford to make travel plans and everything else, have these things canceled. What's going on? And finally, they were so embarrassed. They finally said to me, look, why don't you come to this training? Dr. Peck's going to run it himself. It's a training program to certify people. We know what's going to happen. Just come. And being no dummy, I was like, all right, I'll go. So I went, and it started a 10-year relationship with Dr. Peck and the foundation of doing community building workshops, like being trained in that group dynamics. And it was really my first big break in terms of training and in terms of exposure. And then he and I did a conference together, a large business conference together. And at the end of the conference, at the end of his keynote, I didn't even know he was going to do this. He just stood up and he said, look, don't come to me if you want stuff. He's like, Greg, where are you? And he had me, I was way in the back of the room. I stood up. He said, wave your hand, Greg. And I waved my hand. He said, go to Greg. He's one of our best facilitators. He'll help you. And I was like, whoa. And I sat down, and I was at Boston College, full-time at Boston College at the time after my graduate work. And I had 3 companies come up to me and say, look, we want to work with you and help us do this community building group dynamics work so we can have better teams, more candidness, better conversations, and be more innovative. And lo and behold, it was so big, I left the university and kicked off my consulting full-time at that point. And so I'm always thankful to Dr. Peck for, 1, training me and helping me get going. And then 2, for that like unsolicited point from the stage that kind of kicked me off. So he's a big mentor.
Yes. And we met through Kyle Wilson. He's another person who worked with Jim Rohn, really helped build Jim Rohn. And I think he's been also a great mentor to so many and
Correct.
to us. And he brought us together and so many other people that I love, that I'm friends with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the way I got connected with Kyle is a friend of mine, someone who knew me from my professional work, asked me to do a retreat in Montana. I went and did the retreat. When I got there, he said, look, there's 2 older guys down in cabin, whatever the number was. Go meet them. You're going to run the weekend with them. So I go down there, and it's Bill and Jim, and we talk. And I'm like, wow, these guys are really good. So we do this weekend retreat. We run it. I come back the next year, and I'm like, Jim, you didn't tell me you were Jim Rohn. Like, I literally ran several workshops with Jim himself, and I had no idea the first weekend.
Really?
It was really funny. Yeah, he and Bill Bailey and myself. So when I called up Kyle later, and I said, Kyle, you don't know me, but I've worked with Jim Rohn. And he said, no, you haven't. I was like, no, I have. He's like, no, I've worked with Jim. I know everyone who's worked with Jim. You're lying to me. Get out of here. I was like, well, I was in Montana with him. And he was like, oh, those were the weekends I told Jim not to do and he did anyway.
Oh my God.
It was
That's so
pretty funny. It was pretty funny. So we were able to work through it. And then he said, okay, you're right. You did work with Jim. and,
That
and
is so funny. And how
yeah,
did that go? Was it good for Jim? It was good for you, obviously, but was
oh, it was
it your
great.
style of life?
It
Okay.
was great for me. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just very, very fortunate, to have fallen into that and to have that connection made. It was a blast. I mean, it was out in Montana in the woods near Yellowstone, and we just did, a 3-4 day experience for actually groups of dentists, brought their teams together, and we designed and ran these workshops, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I love that. Was it mixed, male and female, or was it just men?
No, it was mixed male and female. So it
Okay.
was doctors and their whole staff. So it was a mix of
Oh,
people.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about HopeMakers. Tell everybody about HopeMakers.
Yeah.
Why did you start it? Why is it so important to you? And why are you trying to go all over like India? We're trying to get to
Right.
hear
Right.
about your passion, your mission, and
Yeah. So Hope Makers, I didn't even intend to start it. I mean, essentially what happened was the
wait,
largest
when did you
healthcare,
start it? What year?
it would have been right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Okay.
But what happened is one of the largest healthcare companies in the world came to me and said, look, can you put together a proposal to train our 50,000 people to bring hope to the world while we're distributing our products? And so I was like, of course, right? So, I mean, that's what I do, design leadership programs, executive coaching, work with large organizations. But that was a dream request. And so myself, and I think they asked 8 other companies to come and be a part of it. I just started calling people I knew, experts, people I respected, put together a team of about 100 people and put together this global proposal that was essentially in 3 phases. First 2 years training the 50,000, second phase training vendors and suppliers so they could have a whole ecosystem of hope. Phase 3 was, and I made this arrangement with the all the people who had IP, the company, etc., that we take everything we learned and we would package it up and then we would give it and train college students so college students can bring hope to the whole world. So that was the 6-year plan. And it was super exciting. I'm telling you, it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. I literally just sat in this office every day for 2 months while we were quarantined and just kept thinking and writing and calling, and it was so much fun. Well, final interview came down to me and Accenture. We were the 2 companies that made the final interview, and the company came to me afterwards and said, do you know why you made the final interview? I was like, no, I don't. And they said, you're the only one that thought about the whole world. Like, I literally put together a plan to bring hope to the whole world. And we found that the goal was if we could hit 1.716 billion people with the values of hope makers that we had created, it would be enough to tip the scale, because in research, if you can get anywhere from 15 to 22% of a population practicing a new behavior or a new thought pattern, it'll tip the scale and other people will start to come along. It's kind of the tipping point. So that was our goal. And then they said, but we realize the vision's too big. We can't handle the whole world. So we're going to give it to Accenture and not you. I was like, ugh. So I felt bad about going back to the team, but I went to the team, the 100, and I said, look, gang, thanks for 2 months of work on this and this design and everything else. We didn't get it. And about half the group said, we don't care. Let's keep working. I was like, okay. And that's how HopeMakers started. Like, I didn't even intend to start it. It just started because there were some people who refused to stop working on it. And so now, and everyone pays their own way, like even speakers, like coming to your place for the meeting we're having up coming LA. There's a couple people who get like 30, 40, 50,000 a talk. They're paying their own way. Everyone pays their own way. Everyone pays their own expenses. And we come together 30 to 50 at a time. And now we just have conversations like, how can we bring more hope to the world? How can we build better relationship? How can we listen to each other? And I designed the meeting so we practice. Like, the first thing we're going to do is listen. Second thing we're going to do is appreciate what works. Third, we're going to have 2 nonprofits who will come. We have Catherine Bell from the Bell Foundation, who's looking to end Black Trash Bag Day, which when I heard about it, I was just like, what? Like that happens to people in the foster care system? So we're going to look at how do we end that? How do we start to make a dent there?
What is Black Trash Bag Day?
Well, and this is, I didn't even know that it ran this way, but essentially, there are some places in some states when a child in the foster care system, when they turn 18, the family who's hosting them is no longer paid. And so literally what happens to some of these kids who have been in this awful system, and I mean, I know it's not awful for everyone, but overall it's just tough, right? It's just tough. All their belongings are put into a black trash bag. I cannot even say it. It's so troubling. And they're handed the bag and they're like, good luck. You're on your own now. So literally in some places, after they've been through a foster care system for 18 years, on their 18th birthday, they're handed all their belongings in a bag and pushed out the door. That happens to, I think the latest figure I saw was 23,000 people a year. And most of those people will end up either incarcerated, in trouble with the law, addicted, homeless, etc. And when Catherine told me about that, I was like, let's do something about this. Right? Let's just see if we can make a difference here. And so that's one of the nonprofits that will be coming in LA that we're going to help. I was also asked to be on the Hope Foundation board, which works in the slums of Calcutta. Right now, I think a board member is planning on coming for that. We're going to try to help them. What a lady from Ireland Marine, she was visiting Calcutta like 25 or so years ago. And when she was traveling, she went into the slums and she saw women with children, but these women were servicing clients. She's like, how can this be? And she came to find out that some of these women could only afford like a small closet or a small room. So they literally had to raise their children in the same room that they were servicing people in the sex trade. Like, it was awful. And she was so broken by this, she said, I'm going to do something. And so now she's created clinics and schools and all different types of services to help these people. And I'm honored. They just asked me to be on the board to help. And that's part of who we're going to visit in India. When we go, if people want to go, we can go and visit, have some HopeMakers types experiences, visit the Hope Foundation, see the work they're doing, and also connect with each other and say, look, how can we bring more hope to the world? But those are the two nonprofits that will be there for our meeting, November 7 to 9. And that's part of what we do at HopeMakers. Like, we'll bring in nonprofits so we can actually serve while we're at the meeting.
Somebody asked a question about,
Sure.
Can you give one story of someone whose life was changed through HopeMakers or what they did?
Well, I was just talking to someone yesterday, a lady who said, I'm coming to HopeMakers. I'm like, whoa, why? What? She said, because my friend, Amanda, came back from your meeting a changed person. And when I asked her, why did this place change you? She said, it's like Greg brought together all the lighthouses in the world and let them meet each other and grow their lights even more. And I was like, wow, that's a great compliment. I'm going to use that quote. I didn't even know. But here's the thing. When people come together and they find in themselves a place where they can just listen and be and not have to worry about judgments and labels, and other people are practicing the same, there's an unlocking that happens that people can find treasures they didn't know exist, either in their relationships or in themselves or in their own courage, like ways to take steps forward. And that's what happens. And the other thing to keep in mind is, and Dr. Peck used to say this all the time, he said, community and cults are very similar because people come together because they want to be together. They want to be connected. They want to be in a group. So the attraction is very popular. He said, but the difference, he said, in cults, they create systems and habits where people become more connected by being less of themselves. He said, in community, Greg, when we're practicing and running communities and groups, we have to do just the opposite. We have to train people to be more connected while being more of themselves. And in order for us to do that, we need to be bigger and bigger and bigger so we can handle more and more people and more perspectives. He said, so it's more work, but it's more fulfilling. But make no mistake, community is very different than being in a cult. And that's kind of one of the phrases or kind of guidelines I use when facilitating these groups. So that's a little bit about HopeMakers and why I just can't let it go now.
I mean, yeah, I think that's accurate. I've met some wonderful people there, and it's not necessarily the big aha just being there, because I think most of the people who are there are already evolved people who have done a lot, accomplished a lot. They're not there to get motivation necessarily, but it's about the bonds you build with other people who are on the same mission. We're all going in the same direction. So it's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then we could collaborate just like we're doing right now. We met at Kyle's and we're collaborating and trying to do different things. So it's like the people you met were stronger together than we are by ourselves. And when you could meet a room with so many, 20, 30, 40, in an intimate setting, not so huge. I love TED events, but sometimes they're so big. But this is like a TED at a smaller level where you actually get to spend 2 or 3 days with these people, 6, 7 hours a day. And then that's where the magic is, because it's about building those connections over time. And instead of a 3-hour thing or a 1-day thing, you have 3 days. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
One more thing. How would people who want to do what you're doing or start a group or a community, how would they do it?
Well, I mean, 2 things. One, myself and a lady, Dr. Tamsin Astor, who has her PhD in the habits, the science of habits and emotional intelligence. Her and I are going to run a 1-day workshop on the 6th, just before our meeting on the 7th, on helping people facilitate groups. And I'm putting together a master facilitation course to teach people how to do this process of bringing groups and teams together. So that's one thing. Right. And then 2, I think we might have 2 or 3 spots left in HopeMakers. I'd have to look if we have any openings, but people want to join HopeMakers, they can do that. Probably one of the best places to reach me is on LinkedIn. Fortunately, I'm the only Greg Slavor on the whole planet. So if you find that name on LinkedIn or other places, it's me. It'd be great to connect with people who are interested in this work. And look, the other thing I've told people in HopeMakers are like, we got to grow this group. We got to do this. We got to that. I'm like, honestly, we don't have to grow the group. We just need to be better at what we're doing and help other people grow their own groups, because the world needs, Lisa, the world literally needs millions of groups, like millions of events, like what we're going to do at your house, the 7th and the 9th. We need millions of those going on around the planet. And there's 8 billion people. We've got to start sharing the spirit, these tools, these methods, and helping each other, and not like protect it like it's some kind of IP. It's really just can we be more human with each other, and we just need to get it out there and start spreading it. So that's my hope. And I
think the best way to do that too is what I've always done when I feel lonely, depressed, or sad. When you go through different stages in your 20s and 30s, you get lost and who am I? What am I? This didn't work out. That door closed, or this happened, then it didn't. I think I always went to volunteering. Is volunteer.org at the time. I don't know if it's still there. That anytime I volunteered, I met people. And then we started, you start meeting your tribe, or what do you like to do? Even if it's tennis or if it's ballroom dancing, you could start meeting your tribe and start building community around that and saying, what good can we do? Let's teach dance classes to the homeless women for us, Los Angeles. Where can you volunteer? And when I volunteered in so many different companies, I think every week I volunteered for 2 or 3 days when they needed someone, even a receptionist, stuff like that. I met incredible people, and I worked at one of the biggest agencies, modeling agencies, commercial agencies, as a receptionist for a day or 2. Then I met everyone. Then when I submitted myself, they took me, then I got jobs. And then so everything folded instead of just staying inward or selfish of, I'm not getting anything, so I'm going to just stay home and watch TV. Go out and give. When you give, you get. When you give, you get. There's hope. You get to make dreams come true for others, hope makers. You get to make things and create things and bring joy and hope to the world. So thank you so much.
If for 2 seconds, just one little thought, like I saw Adam and other people talking about how it's cool, this is a great mission, etc. The most important thing is the process.
Yeah.
The most important thing is the way we treat each other, not the goal we're going after.
Yes.
And if people can keep that in mind, and people come to HopeMakers keep that in mind, it'll all work out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So go out there and do good in the world, create your group, join HopeMakers, join other nonprofits. Kids in the Spotlight that we mentioned is a wonderful organization that works with foster kids and has them write, direct, and star in their own 5-minute story. And it's very powerful. But thank you, Greg, for being here, for creating HopeMakers. I'm so excited for the meeting in November. It's going to be so much fun to get with everybody, meet new ones and collaborate and just explore potentials. So thank you. And I'll talk to you soon. And I'll see you soon. And thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm Lisa Haysha, creator of Soul Blazing. I hack how you can change the negative thoughts in your head that hold you back. I call them imposters. I introduce you to them, teach you how to befriend them, and co-create with them, releasing old negative narratives. As a keynote speaker at your next event, I'll help your team turn into master communicators with more camaraderie, which brings more efficiency and growth to your organization. So join me and make shift happen.